in their heart not to make themselves defiled. He refused king's meal and wine. So look, this word will put before us many desires and attractions. If it make us unholy, don't fall into these attractions. Here you should put virtue to your precious faith. Eunuchs had changed their names. That we can read from verse 7, chapter 1, verse 7. And the chief of the eunuchs gave them names. Daniel he called Belteshazzar, and Hananiah he called Shadrach, and Mishael he called Meshach, and Azariah he called Abednego. But nothing can change their heart, isn't it? Their heart centered on God only. Despite of king's orders, Daniel took brave decision, and this braveness in midst of difficult situations is a Christian virtue. He didn't pray to king or worshipped the image made by the king. First he refused king's meal and wine, and then he didn't pray to king or worship the image made by the king. He didn't fear the punishment for disobeying, and these incidents we can read from Daniel chapter 6 verse 1 to 7. The first incident is we can read from Daniel 3, 1, 4 to 6. Full chapter is describing this incident, but I am going to read only some verses, 12, 14 and then 16 to 18. King of Nebuchadnezzar made an image of gold whose height was 60 cubits and its breadth 6 cubits. He set it up on the plain of Dura in the province of Babylon. Verse 12. There are certain Jews whom you have appointed over the affairs of the province of Babylon, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. These men, O king, pay no heed to you. They do not serve your gods or worship the golden image which you have set up. Then we can read verse 14. Nebuchadnezzar said to them, Is it true, O Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, that you do not serve my gods or worship the golden image which I have set up? 14 and then 16 to 18. Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego answered the king, O Nebuchadnezzar, we have no need to answer you in this matter. If it be so, our God whom we serve is able to deliver us from the burning fiery furnace, and he will deliver us out of your hand, O king. But if not, be it known to you, O king, that we will not serve your gods or worship the golden image which you have set up. So Daniel showed the virtue to stand for the Lord without fearing worldly rulers and laws against the word of God. Another incident also is there, that is, we can read from chapter 6 verse 1 to 7, then 10, 16, 19 to 23. It pleased Darius to set over the kingdom 120 satraps to be throughout the whole kingdom, and over them 3 presidents, of whom Daniel was one, to whom these satraps should give account, so that the king might suffer no loss. Then this Daniel became distinguished above all the other presidents and satraps, because an excellent spirit was in him, and the king planned to set him over the whole kingdom. Then the presidents and the satraps sought to find a ground for complaint against Daniel with regard to the kingdom, but they could find no ground for complaint or any fault, because he was faithful and no error or fault was found in him. Then these men said, We shall not find any ground for complaint against this Daniel unless we find it in connection with the law of his God. Then these presidents and satraps came by agreement to the king and said to him, O King Darius, live forever. All the presidents of the kingdom, the prefects and the satraps, the counselors and the governors are agreed that the king should establish an ordinance and enforce an interdict that whoever makes petition to any god or man for 30 days, except to you, O king, shall be cast into the den of lions. Then 10. When Daniel knew that the document had been signed, he went to his house where he had windows in his upper chamber open towards Jerusalem, and he got down upon his knees 3 times a day and prayed and gave thanks before his God as he had done previously. Then 16. Then the king commanded, and Daniel was brought and cast into the den of lions. The king said to Daniel, May your God whom you serve continually deliver you. Then 19 to 23. Then at break of day, the king arose and went in haste to the den of lions. When he came near to the den where Daniel was, he cried out in a tone of anguish and said to Daniel, O Daniel, servant of the living God, has your God, whom you serve, continually been able to deliver you from the lion? Then Daniel said to the king, O king, live forever. My God sent his angel and shut off the lions' mouths, and they had not hurt me, because I was found blameless before him and also before you. O king, I have done no wrong. 23 also. Then the king was exceedingly glad and commanded that Daniel be taken up out of the den. So Daniel was taken up out of the den, and no kind of hurt was found upon him, because he had trusted in his God. And the king commanded, and those men who had accused Daniel were brought and cast into the den of lions, they, their children, and their wives before they reached the bottom of the den, the lions overpowered them and broke all their bones in pieces. So when Daniel centered on God and stand for God's law, God was with them in all their troubles and rescued them. And so we also, as children of God, show this virtue. We also shall be in midst of any trouble, shall stand for the laws of God. Then the next